Kvell crew, we are in week 3 of the challenge, and you challengers out there, we've got some good questions this week. A lot of questions, good questions. Let's dig in. How do I know if I'm engaging my core during a workout where the movement is focused on something else? I've noticed I really struggle to maintain that core engagement, and sometimes I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. So here's the biggest thing. There's a few different ways to engage your core, and it really depends on the movement. And so, for example, when we're doing hollow bodies and bird dog, or hollow bodies and dead bugs, we want to suck the belly button back to the spine, kind of creating that vacuum effect. Okay, lower back is on the floor. So when you're on the floor, so when you're laying face up and engaging your core, you want to push your lower back into the floor. So the question is how do I know I'm engaging my core? Well, if your lower back is pressed tightly, firmly into the floor, and there's no space between your back and the floor, you're engaging your core on those movements. On things like deadlifts and squats and push-ups, any pillar type position movements, we want to make sure that we're bracing the core. So it's a little different. It's kind of the opposite of sucking the belly button back. Now I'm pressing everything out. So for most of us, and this is a crude example, but when you're having a bowel movement, you press out. Okay, that's the same thing with your core. You're pressing out and engaging it. That locks that spinal column in place. And so one of the ways that a lot of times I'll demo it is I will actually squeeze your sides and have you push out against my hands. And so you want to imagine that somebody's squeezing you, or you have a really tight belt and you're pressing against that belt, not sucking in, but pressing against it and engaging that core. Now, it does take some practice to be able to breathe and engage the core at the same time. But the best way to know what it feels like to engage the core in that bracing posture is to blow out like you're blowing candles. So imagine you got 100 candles in front of you and you got to blow them all out. So you take a big breath and you blow out as hard and as long as you can, and at the end of that your core is going to be engaged, and that's what we call bracing. Okay, really important. Every single movement that we do at Kvell, you should be engaging your core, and if you're not, then you're missing out on a lot of the benefit of that movement, and you're increasing your risk of injury. Is it necessary to eat 3 times per day, or is it okay to only eat when you are hungry? Well, it's not necessary to eat 3 times a day, 6 times per day, 1 time per day. What we recommend is that you eat 3 to 4 times per day. Number one, so that you're not snacking, which doesn't sound like the issue with you, but if you're not hungry. And so not being hungry typically is an issue with metabolism. And so in order to get your metabolism kind of cranked back up again, sometimes we want to eat a little bit more often. Sometimes we have to eat a little bit more food because our body has downregulated the metabolism so much that we're just not hungry because it's trying to kind of stay not use as much energy as possible. And so I would say you start out with 3 times, even if you're not hungry. Try and get those meals in for a few weeks, and then see what your body does, see if your energy picks up, see if your weight starts to drop, those types of things. Because a lot of the time it's a metabolism issue, and it's a metabolism issue where we have to fix it. Something is broken there. And then once you get into it, there's many times that I will eat, twice per day. And so once you kind of get into it and you understand it, you can adjust based on what you've experienced in the past, then it's fine. But you got to have a pretty solid foundation there and fix a burnt out or slow metabolism first. What are things I can do at home to work my chest and love handles? The only way to work your love handles is to lose body fat. There is no other thing to do. To get rid of love handles, you have to get rid of body fat. To get rid of body fat, you need to eat properly. You need to train with resistance, so lift weights and or use your body weight. And you need to get plenty of sleep and recovery. Now, as far as working your chest, same thing there. You got to get rid of the fat around your chest, but push-ups are a good thing, to start doing for chest, and dips. Those are the 2 best movements to work your chest that you can do kind of at home on your own. So if you can get a dip bar or some type of a dip setup, or even just use 2 chairs, and then push-ups. So you can just start knocking out some push-ups every morning. As an example, like every morning I'll do muscle ups, and that's on top of what I regularly do as a workout. It's just a habit thing for me, but you can start out doing 10 push-ups every morning, and then just slowly increase that. Maybe every week you add a push-up or 2 push-ups. Let's see here. I know my core needs to get stronger and I literally can't do a sit-up without momentum. Should I just do the level 1 until I can do it or use the momentum to get up? Yeah, don't use the momentum to get up, because if you use the momentum to get up, you'll never get stronger. And this works for any movement, core or otherwise. Okay, we need to work the movement in a slow, controlled pattern. Otherwise, we're not actually using the muscles to get stronger. Or to get up or to move or whatever. And so you're never going to get better at those movements. This is why we have you guys slow down movements often. So if you look at like a high school children and or high school kids and younger are, if you watch them train and they've never been kind of taken through a proper training program, they'll go really fast on movements because they have no strength. And so they're just using the elastic properties of the body to spring out of movements. And this is what we do as adults too. It's just, again, we just don't kind of realize that's why we're doing it. But we're using that momentum to spring in that elastic potential to spring out of movements. Instead, we want to use strength. So absolutely, if you can't do a movement, that's why we have level 1 movements, right? You want to do the level 1 movement until that level 1 movement becomes easy. And sometimes level 1 movement is more difficult because it's forcing you to do the movement correctly, forcing you to use the right musculature. Whereas when you step into a level 2 and 3, sometimes you can cheat those movements and they feel easier, right? Another issue with sit-ups, a lot of times sit-ups, I mean, if you have abdominal fat, sometimes sit-ups can be difficult there as well. It might not be a strength issue as much as an abdominal fat issue. So it's kind of there's a few things there. But yeah, if you can't do a level 2 movement, always do the level 1. Let's see here. Have you seen The Game Changers? This is a documentary. It's a screening in Boise on September 16th. It's so good. Probably the essay. Okay, so there's a movie called The Game Changers I have not seen yet, but it looks like it's talking about celebration of human potential. So it might be something for you guys to look into. Take a look at that trailer, I guess. And it's screening on September 16th here in Boise. So I don't know. We might get a group together, go watch it. Any permitted cheat days? So number 1, I wouldn't call them a cheat day because anything that you're planning, it's not a cheat day. So right when somebody cheats on their spouse, it's something they're not supposed to be doing. So I wouldn't call them a cheat day. I would call them a free day or a free meal. But as far as the challenge goes, we're not permitting, and it's not. You're thinking about it in a little bit of maybe a different way than we're thinking about it. You can do whatever you want to do during the challenge. The question still remains, did you eat only whole foods yesterday or not? That's it, right? And so it's like you either did it or you didn't do it. And if you didn't do it, then you didn't do it. And if you did do it, then you did do it. And that's it, right? So you can eat whatever you want to eat. That's your call. You still answer the question the way that, it's either yes or no. I've eaten clean every day, but have not lost weight every day, and some days gain. Overall, trending down, which is good, so not complaining but curious. What's going on that causes the fluctuations? Yeah, good question. So weight loss is never linear. So you're never, ever going to see like where you lose half a pound every day, for the next 352 days. Weight loss doesn't work that way because our bodies don't work that way. Our bodies fluctuate based on salt, based on the humidity, based on our sleep, based on what we did yesterday, based on exercise, based on our stress levels. There's so many factors that play into the chemistry and biology of our body that weight loss isn't linear. But you said it here. What we're looking for is where it's trending, right? So we're always going to fluctuate just based on water retention, anywhere from 2 to 5 or more pounds for some people daily. Right? So daily there's that fluctuation. And so, if you sweat more one day or you drink more water, you drink less water, that fluctuation is pretty consistent. And so we want to look at how are we trending over the long run. And if we're trending down, then perfect. We're doing the things that we should be doing. If we're trending up, overall we're eating too much food. So great question there. But yeah, weight loss is never linear. It's never a linear process. My work days are long, 9 a.m. until about midnight. That is long. Sometimes 2 a.m. the next day. If I don't have something stackable between meals on my long days, I feel myself getting sleepy or crashing. Is it normal for a long day, or am I breaking a bad habit? Probably more has to do with the fact that that's a long day, and I have no idea what you do, but if it's very stressful, also very normal. So basically, you jack your you're messing with your hormones here. And so you got your cortisol up, you got your adrenaline up, you got a lot of things going on. Your body's trying to hang on. And then possibly like you get a little break and then your body's going to crash because it's time for bed and your body's like, I need a break. And so that's probably a little bit, I mean, it could be breaking a bad habit, but more or less that is a really long day. And so the likelihood that that's just breaking a bad habit is pretty small, but it could be a combination of the two. The biggest thing here is do the best you can, right? So because you have a long day, you should focus even more intently on eating really healthy foods, having your blood sugar stay consistent by eating, whole grain types foods, proteins, healthy fats, those types of things. It's going to keep your blood sugar consistent so you don't have these peaks and valleys. And for that long of a day, we got to keep you engaged and dialed in. And yeah, you're probably going to hit some lulls there just because it's a long day. Again, depending on how the stress environment, if it's a cyclical or if it's always stressful or what it looks like. But it's probably a combo of both. Will I ever add back bread and pasta into my diet, or is that gone for the foreseeable future? Well, that's up to you, right? I mean, we're just telling you the stuff that basically is going to keep you as healthy as you possibly can be. Now, if you do choose to add in bread and pasta, which are, of course, are processed foods, not whole foods, I would encourage you to look for some of the healthier versions, the whole food type versions. So they have bean pastas. Of course, you got your standard whole wheat pasta, which is probably not your best option, but there's bean pastas. There's, I can't remember now. There's a whole bunch of different types of pastas now. Brown rice pasta, I think. There's all kinds of different pastas now that are a lot healthier. Same with breads. They're a lot healthier than your standard options that most people are consuming. But a lot of people never bring back bread and pasta. Right, that's just kind of your prerogative, and I would say when you do bring it back in, just see how your body responds to it. You got to give it a few days, and then just see how your body responds, how you feel. What are your thoughts on carbonated water beverages with flavors of real fruit? I don't particularly think that there's anything bad with carbonated beverages, one way or the other. Again, some people will say that they're leaching calcium from your bones, and other people say that's bogus. I've seen research dispute both claims and prove both claims. So I would say as long as you're not drinking, copious amounts of it, I think you're probably fine. If you need the carbonation, to break a pop habit, a soda habit, juice habit, any of that stuff, then I think you're probably on the right track. And then maybe eventually, you start to switch over to water that's infused with fruit instead of carbonated water that's infused with fruit. What's your opinion on how much protein on average non-elite athletes should get during the day? Goal is to lose body fat, gain, maintain muscle mass, and support everyday active lifestyle, not training for race event. Okay, so Precision Nutrition has a really good article on this. I'll put this in the comments section. But basically for the average kind of human who's training, who's doing like a high intensity training program or a resistance training program, somewhere between about 0.64 and 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass is usually a good starting point. And I say starting point because it kind of depends on how you digest it. Some people digest it a lot better, and so therefore they absorb a lot more of it and don't need as much, and vice versa. And so that would be a good starting point. When you look at bodybuilders, their kind of go-to is 1 pound of protein for every pound of body weight. So you could start there, but I wouldn't worry too much about that at this point. What I would instead focus on is the portion sizes that we've given you, which is, females, let's eat 1 palm size of protein per meal. Males, let's eat 2 palm sizes of protein per meal. Get that as a standard base, and then start adjusting and start playing with your quantities after that. But based on, the science out there, which is all over the board, frankly, you want about 0.64 to about 1 gram per pound of body weight or lean body mass. How do you recommend structured carbs, proteins, fats around workouts? I would recommend the easiest and simplest way to do this is this. You got an anytime meal and you got a post-workout meal. And this again is straight from the precision nutrition stuff, which is a really good way, I think, to be able to handle carbohydrate cycling in a way that makes sense. After you work out, eat your proteins, your vegetables, and your carbohydrates with a very low fat content in that meal. Every other meal, eat your vegetables, your proteins, small amount of added fat, and then either no carbohydrates at all if weight loss is a goal, or a smaller serving of carbohydrates if weight loss is not a goal. That's how I would manipulate that. How long does it take for sugar cravings, false hunger cues to stop? I would give it at least 30 days. 30 days of no sugar and no like snacking. And typically your body will revert, your taste buds will no longer be craving it, your body will no longer be craving the sugar. I can't remember, can we have white rice? White rice is a processed food, so no, the answer is you cannot. Unless you choose to, and that's the case, you just answer the question, no, I did not eat whole foods yesterday. Why is there such a focus on no dairy? We have at least an entire page in the FAQ section on dairy, and I put the FAQ link at the top of this, and so you can dig into that and understand the dairy scenario. I'll be out of town and out of cell service. Can I check in when I get back? Yes, I believe you can go back and check in on those meals or on those days that you did or didn't do, and I know you can go back and read the lessons for sure. Okay, really good questions, guys. Really solid. I like it. So again, we're in week 3, so keep on cranking. We need to make sure that we get our midpoint scans in this week. So just make sure you get in, pop in, get a scan. Now, preemptively on the scans, take them with a grain of salt, because unless you stand exactly identical every single time, your scan is going to be a little different. And if it says you lost, 5 pounds of muscle, that is not totally accurate. There is no type of body composition measurement available today that is 100% accurate. So you want to take it with a grain of salt. It's just a check-in to make sure things aren't too wild and wonky. Make sure something's going down, weight or body fat or circumference measurements. Want to make sure something is changing. But even if that's not the case, we want to look at long-term trends here. Again, weight loss is not a linear process. We're only 3 weeks into this, and really we want to make sure that we're doing the habits more so than the end result, because the end result will come as long as we're doing the habits consistently for long enough. All right, so whatever your scan says, it's really just a check-in, and it doesn't matter too much unless things are too wonky and your weight's way up or something crazy like that. But take a look at your habits. Is my energy getting better? Am I working out more? Am I eating the right foods? Are my clothes fitting better? And then is my body fat going down? Is my weight going down? Those types of things. All right. Have a great week.